Hi, my name is Christy Inchmont, and I'm here today to talk to you about student college athletes and why they should be getting paid. Now, many of you may not agree with this, but I'm here to talk to you about why. Universities acquire over millions of dollars every single year from their student athlete programs. These universities, sometimes they do give or they spend their money on the program itself, but more times than not, they're using it for their university, which they do have some rightfully so. But at the same time, when student athletes bringing in over hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, and especially for some student athletes cases who are there for at least 3 years, if we're talking at least football, that's close to over $500 million depending on the player. Johnny Manziel himself is a great example, who his first year at Texas A&M alone brought in over $120 million by himself. How much money of that did he see? Zero. Not legally anyway. His coach himself earned a bonus of $1.1 million because of the strong season by a Heisman winning trophy winner. Excuse me. Universities use athletes as poster boys and commercial users and all sorts of things in order to accumulate more crowds and more people's attention towards their program. They want people to buy in. They want people to buy merchandise. Athletes and teams make millions of dollars, not just off the athletes alone, but what the athletes bring to their television network. Yes, that's correct. That comes from major broadcasts such as ESPN, CBS, NBC, Fox, Pac-12 networks, any conference network in the country, they are used for these programs. Universities and conferences specifically use high-profile and elite players in order to establish a, more so again, poster boy as a problem so their players don't have to get paid. Another problem with this is because of why their careers are in jeopardy. A profile itself is hard to come by, but for it's only the few that are the elite established, they are recognized and taken to the league. Quote on is Johnny Manziel, Marcus Mariota, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, you name it. Players like that you recognize. Sure, that helps them out, but what happens if a player gets injured? Nothing, huh? Nothing happens. More times than not, you'd be surprised to hear that when a student athlete gets injured and is a career-ending injury, half the time they may lose their scholarship, thus losing out on their education as well. Now I'll begin by discussing to you with what universities intend on doing with the millions of dollars that they bring in. Sports programs earn and make in advance in different tournaments and all sorts of, game day specials and all sorts of things. They use it by building new stadiums, new libraries, new buildings, upgrade the facilities, anything. But more times than not, once you upgrade one facility for one sports team, you're not going to touch that facility for a while because it's quote-unquote a new facility. Well, if you're getting hundreds of millions of dollars every year, it's kind of interesting to ponder, don't you think, about what is getting more and what is getting less. Universities talk about student athletes being students first, and that is correct. They do have to maintain a certain GPA of at least a 2.0 to be eligible to play and to sustain a scholarship for that for the scholarship to play on that program. Now, another example, as we discussed before, what Johnny Manziel is making, his earnings of over $120 million in one semester, which is one football season alone. He was able to renovate and upgrade Texas A&M's entire field to increase it to almost the largest field in the entire country. It was remarkable. Lastly, for universities, they use players to profile even in seasonal promotions for their schools, which no athletes see any of the money for that. In collegiate basketball, most teams that earn a chance to go to the March Madness, quote unquote, is the tournament to establish who will be the NCAA champion of that season. Every year, a team that makes that is getting millions of dollars from that team alone. And sometimes that team makes it not just because of one player, but a majority of that reason is behind one player alone. And that player does not see one dime of that. But you know who will? Coaches. presidents, athletic directors, deans, name it. They're going to see that. But those student athletes who don't do anything, they're not going to have the chance to see that as much. Next on is the argument of whether an education for student athletes is enough. Well, I'm here to tell you that is wrong. Student athletes do not have the same amount of time as regular students do for school. They have a more condensed schedule that's very routinely, and it's very difficult to have free time. Now, don't get me wrong. Students have the right to continue doing their classes as they need to, and there's assistants there's tutors, there's all sorts of things for that. But they need a strong stability, something that gets behind them. Other students can go out, they can get jobs, and they can kind of build for a future. They can work as an internship for themselves. But student college athletes aren't allowed to do that. They can't go work. They're not allowed to make money because of who they are as a student athlete. Their likeliness can be used against them even if they are not using it. A company can promote that they have someone there that is aside from a normal student. If you take a normal student and you say, oh, he's working here, and you take Johnny Manziel and you say he's working here, who do you think you're going to go with? Exactly my point. And after explaining most of these reasons why, I do believe that there is an alternate solution to this situation. I believe that most student college athletes should be getting paid, not any sums of ridiculous amount, but a decent and equal and decent learning of money. There needs to be a certain requirement for them to earn the quote unquote money that they bring in. Sure, they earn it on the field, but at the same time, because they have a scholarship which is paid for, they should meet certain requirements such as a GPA, class attendance, something along those lines to where they meet the necessary requirements in order to make that money, and at the end, everything I think can benefit. Schools get what they need, television programs get what they need, and college student athletes, who every year, not all of them go professional, less than 99% of them go professional. That means maybe 1% go professional, and that's not very much. And this is why today I brought this attention to you and why student college athletes should be getting paid.